guys? Welcome back to another video. It is Saturday. It is a nice, sunny, warm, spring-like day. And if you notice, I've got the truck in the garage all by itself. Everybody else is parked outside. And today's a day that I have been looking forward to, but also at the same time, kind of fearing coming along. Because today's the day we're going to tear this thing apart. We're going to rip out the old injection system and throw in the brand new multi-port fuel injection system that I got. Now, those of you who don't understand or don't know what I'm talking about, these trucks, the 5.7s, I think the 4.3s also had the same kind of setup. They've got what's called a central fuel injection, spider injection system inside the engine. Unlike the 5.3s or the newer engines where you have the fuel injectors that are on the side, on a fuel rail on the side of the motor, which are super simple to get to. These, you have to take off the entire upper intake manifold and pull out that injection system and replace it, then put it all back together, and everything should be good to go. Things are horribly known for having cracks in the little poppet, and I'll definitely show you what I mean by that. I'm going to pull out the new ones out of the box, and we're going to take a look at them, and I'll explain everything that I can. Alright, in front of us we have the brand new spider injection kit for the 5.7 350 Vortex. But this is the part number that I went with. I got this off of Summit Racing. It was about 50-60 bucks cheaper than anywhere else, especially if you go to a parts store. They're going to want about $370 for these things. And you have to be very careful when you're going through and looking at these, because you want to make sure you get the upgraded MPFI or MPFI injection system instead of the old style replacement for what is already in your truck, and you know, what's already gone bad or is getting ready to go bad. Now, if you've been following and subscribed and watching the videos on this channel for probably the last year or at least the last 6 months, you know this truck is running like absolute. I've been complaining about it for a while. I have not been driving the truck very much just because of the fact that it just eats fuel. I mean, I know it's a lifted truck, it's gonna drink some fuel, but this thing completely chugs fuel. I can go from a full tank to a half a tank just within driving probably 30 or 40 miles, and that's just not normal for these trucks. I've replaced so many different parts. I started off with the spark plugs and the spark plug wires. Then I went to the cap and rotor and the EGR valve and all sorts of stuff on this thing, throttle position sensor, stuff like that. Cannot get rid of the issues that I'm having. Now, the issues that I'm having out of the truck, in case you're wondering, it's idling rough. It has a hard time wanting to start up. Like if you let it set overnight, it'll start up just fine the next day. But if you shut it off and try to start it back up again, it'll just crank and crank and crank. I mean, lack of throttle response and just loss of power in general. Obviously, these things aren't high horsepower at all, but I definitely know and feel that I do not have all of the power that the truck is supposed to have. It seems like it's really sluggish, really weak, and if I'm driving the truck down the road, I can actually feel when the injection kicks in and the correct fuel to air mixture ratio is in the engine, and it actually starts driving a little bit better, and then it'll go back to driving like crap again. Number 3, on top of all that, this thing, it rolls coal. It blows out black smoke. It smells like it's running super, super rich. Like you could just tell just by the way it smells. There's just something wrong with the mixture. It's just not doing like it's supposed to. And since I replaced all that other stuff, the only thing that I could even think of that is next on the list from what I've researched, what I've read, what people have told me is going to be the fuel injectors, because they have a problem when they get old of just cracking. The ends of the injectors will crack, and that'll end up pouring too much fuel into your fuel system. Then you have some fuel just kind of sitting in there. Then when you go to start your truck, all that excess fuel blows through. That's what causes your black smoke and your nasty smell. And of course, if your mixture's not right, then your truck's not going to run right. It doesn't know what to do with itself. So what I've got here is the upgrade. Because what this does, it switches it over from a mechanical injection to an electronic injection. And this is multi-port fuel injection instead of just the central fuel injection, which overall is supposed to be a whole lot better. I've watched a bunch of YouTube videos, I've read a bunch of reviews, and when people put these in their trucks, they notice a massive difference, that it runs way better than it ever has before, and hopefully that's going to be the case. So here's the spider injection. This is what you find underneath your upper intake, and of course On top of that, you're going to want to get a brand new set of upper intake gaskets, because while you're in there, might as well go ahead and replace them, because you're never going to be in there again. And you should just replace them just because you're already there. Now, I've had the upper intake off before. There was one time where we had to change out the whole entire upper intake manifold. Not sure if I have a video on YouTube. I might. If I do, I'll link it up here so you can check that out. But I broke off the quick connect for one of the heater hoses, and after that you're pretty much screwed. You have to go get a new upper intake manifold. So we went to the salvage yard, got a brand new one, threw that on there. Saw the spider injection in there, so I know where it's at. We know how to get to it, and it should be fairly simple, but very, very time consuming to do. The problem with the old injectors is the tips of these are very, very brittle, and of course, being inside the engine for 20 plus years, it's going to get fragile. And what happens is it'll crack, and then your fuel just kind of spews, and then it has no control of how much fuel to send into the cylinder. So with these, it'll send not only a little bit more fuel, and you get a little bit better, fuel to air mixture, and everything will be perfectly fine. It's going to send the proper amount of fuel that each cylinder needs to fire, and the truck needs to run. So what you do is take out the old one, pop the new one in place, get these injectors, put them in the proper cylinders, and plug it all in, I guess, and you're all set and ready to roll. Of course, this one comes with a brand new fuel regulator, which also could be the issue. That's something I really didn't think too much about, and since the fuel regulator is inside on your spider injection, you might as well just replace the whole entire thing once you're going to be in there, because just replacing the regulator, it's not really going to do much good if your injectors go out. Now we'll have to take a look once we get the old system out, but you could tell each of these injectors has its own little plug, its own little brain, I guess, and this thing just controls it, and everything, like I said before, is supposed to be just much more efficient and a lot better. This has kind of taken the old system, bringing it into the modern age of fuel injection. Obviously, we're still using the spider injection style, because we don't have any other choice unless we switch it over to a newer engine, a 5.3 or a 6.0, and everything's just supposed to be much better. So I'm really hoping this works. If this doesn't work, I have no idea what else I'm going to do. I'm just going to have to rip the whole entire engine out and just do something else. But yeah, this is what we're doing. Here's the L57. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to remove the intake. We're going to have to maybe move the AC stuff out of the way, just so we have some more room. But everything's got to be unplugged, everything's got to be taken off. Then you've got to remove your upper plenum. It's just, all that's got to come off. And then your spider injection is underneath. And yeah, it's going to be fun, because you can't reach up in there without constantly having to stand on something. So it's definitely going to be interesting. We'll be filming up a little bit of the process. Like I said, I'm not going to do like an in-depth, how-to, and completely show you step by step on how to do it, because there is a ton of videos on YouTube about it. I'm going to link the one that I use in the description from 1A Auto, because it's the most detailed and the most easy to follow. So that's pretty much where I'm at on that. Alright, so I invited my dad over to help out, as I usually do with my big projects. He's over there. Say hey. Hey. And we ended up knocking this out real quick. It's not like I said, not overly complicated, and it's just kind of really time consuming. But you got all that stuff taken off the top, all of your bolts and everything are out, the intake's ready to come off. Just get everything out of the way, really, is what the biggest deal is. And then we'll get the new injectors put in there and everything put back together. By the time everything's put back together, this thing should run a lot better. Alright, we have the upper intake plenum off. And here's the injection system. Old spider injectors that literally just pop into your cylinders like that. And I know one of these has got to be broken, because something's not happening like it's supposed to. But this is the crazy part. Check out the size difference on the lines. These are some massive lines compared to what come into our stock from the truck. I cannot wait to get these in there, get it put back together. This thing's going to love this new injection system. So let's go ahead and pull it all out. We've got busted nozzles on these. Here's this one. This one's the worst one. If we could focus on it here, you can see right here it's completely broken off. This is where you're getting your excess fuel. Look at in the intake, I don't know if you could see it in there, We've got the very front side is completely covered in some black, thick, unburned fuel. And check this out. Here's the MFI versus your CFI. So look at the size of just the hose by itself, and then you got your size of the nozzle by itself. This is absolutely crazy how much bigger the new system is. We've got the new injectors in there, kind of a pain because they're a little tighter, so you have to be really careful. So now we just put it back together, and I didn't really show any of this process because once you get it all taken apart, it's kind of simple. You just have to figure it out. Plus, like I said, there's plenty of videos on YouTube that do step by step. I just want to document it here for myself and for you guys to, see how much better this upgrade is. So we cleaned out everything from the little ports where the injectors go in to where the gasket goes, and everything should be a lot better now. Got it back together. Everything's nice and clean. We're ready to prime it up and see if she'll start up. Battery's a little low. All right, temp number 2. Had to hook up the cobalt. Battery's dying. Idling just a little rough. Don't know why. Might do that. I don't know. Got those new injectors in there. Might take a little bit to get everything pushed through. Oh man, yeah, this is the look of, I guess, the look of happiness, at the same time the look of kind of worried, kind of confused. So you saw the first start, a little rough, obviously. Going to be a little bit rough. New fuel injectors. Fuel hasn't been pushed through those injectors at all until now. So, it's going to be a little bit of a rough start getting that fuel pushed through there. But after that was done, everything was just fine. Idle is so much better now. The idle is so much better. I can actually start it up again, after I shut it off from it running before. But there's a little bit of another issue. Part of me was afraid. That's why, like I said at the beginning of this video,
today's a day that I have been looking forward to, but also at the same time kind of fearing.
And reason being is there's more underlying problems, and I'm not ready for more problems, after doing all that. So basically, stripped down the engine. Took the upper intake plenum off. Spent a ton of time cleaning up a bunch of nasty tarry stuff, from just fuel that's been unburned, just been sitting there, doing nothing. And, found out that at least 2 or 3 of the injectors out of the stock system were cracked and obviously were causing issues. One of the main things I found out was the spark plug on cylinder number 5 was covered in fuel. So I'm like, okay, it might not be a big deal, but it might be a big deal, because obviously it's not good when a spark plug is covered in fuel. I didn't have the ability to run a compression test at that time, so we didn't do it. So I put new plugs in, new wires in, problems were still the same. Went to changing out sensors, throttle position sensor, idle air control sensor, PCV valve, EGR valve. which is the sensor that I did probably 2 weeks ago. And then finally, just last week, decided just to go ahead and order the brand new fuel injector system, which is what we just installed in the truck. After everything was all buttoned up, everything was all put back together, all the plugs were plugged in, closed the hood, I was excited to take it out and drive it, which I did not film driving it at all. But needless to say, was not very good. Took it out, just took it down the street, and as soon as I hit the gas to get on it and get it to go, just pop, backfire. And it felt sluggish. It feels really like it's running on maybe 6 cylinders out of the 8 cylinders, which is not good. It's really disappointing because I was really ready for that fuel injector, the new system, to feel good, the truck to feel good again, to run better again, to be able to drive it and not have any more problems. That's the K1500, random misfire detected, and so I pulled off all the wires, replaced 2 wires because one was arced real badly and corroded, and the other one was just kind of old looking and kind of cracked up by the heat from the header. That didn't fix the problem. So my next thing is to get another set of spark plugs, run a compression check on the truck, and hopefully the plugs are just fouled from the excessive fuel dumping into the cylinders, or the next possible thing it could be. And my dad, he's real good at engines. He's been doing it for his whole entire life. He knows his stuff on it. And he mentioned I could have a burnt valve in the engine. So we're going to hop online. We're going to order some new, 8 new spark plugs. And next weekend, probably run the compression check and see if hopefully by any chance, that any good luck at all, that's going to be the issue. And knowing me and knowing the luck that I've had with this truck so far, for whatever reason, everything decides it's going to happen. And I don't know. So unfortunately, this project, we're ending it on a good note, but at the same time ending it on a bad note. If it's a burnt valve, it's a burnt valve. I can't do anything about it. All the thing I can do is replace it. Just build up a new engine, put it in there. That's going to be the next option if this doesn't work. So yeah, well, I'm hoping that it's going to be plugs. So definitely, guys, throw me a thumbs up on the video if you think it's spark plugs. I need all the help we can get. So that being said, guys, thank you for watching the video. Thanks for sticking around till the end if you made it this far. I hope some of this information was a little bit helpful. I know I didn't go through the whole process of pulling out the injectors and putting the new ones in, but like I said, 1A Auto has an amazing tutorial, step-by-step of doing that. That's what we use to, to figure out where everything goes. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the subscribing, all the love on the Instagram page recently and on the YouTube channel. And next weekend, we're going to see if we can fix this issue with the spark plugs. It's supposed to rain all week, so that's the only chance we're going to have. But until next time, guys, we'll see you all in the next video. If there's something internally wrong with this engine, it might be time to go ahead and just get up with the times and just do the LS swap.